Hello. Megan Thompson here with Megan Thompson Coaching. And today we're here to talk about how to help your child when your kiddo wants things to go back to normal. So, as we know, most of the world is still shut down. And I want to speak about this from parenting a highly sensitive child's perspective, right? So, some of you are dealing with your sensitive child wanting the world to go back to the way it was. We're at almost a year, give or take, of a lot of restrictions and changes. And many of you are yearning and watching your child yearn for freedom and additional support in their communities and change in the school setting as well. And it's heartbreaking for you as a parent to watch your child wish that they could just snap their fingers and have things go back to normal. So I want to talk about what that experience is happening for your child and how to support your family in this dynamic. So one of the things that we hear often from parents related to supporting their highly sensitive child who is dealing with daily meltdowns, is frustrated. Many of you are schooling at home at this point or supporting with homework in a different way, virtual schooling, etc. And so when your sensitive child is dealing with these meltdowns on a regular basis, just flipping out or melting down, crying, feeling frustrated, yelling, kicking, screaming, hitting, it's obviously exhausting for you as a parent, and it's also very exhausting for your child. And so when your child is in this moment of trying to express to you that they wish that things could go back to normal, or they're experiencing sadness or anxiety or even depression related to the state that the world is in right now, we're hearing a lot of parents wondering and advising each other of how to support their children in this moment. So many times we hear parents get stuck in a certain type of pattern that I want to talk about today. So one of the things that many parents will get stuck in is getting frustrated with wanting to help their child move out of that intense emotion too quickly. So when we think about the fact that there are a lot of environmental factors that you and your family cannot control, it is important to notice how you can help your child feel in control in that moment, right? Because what your child is stuck in at this point is wishing that things outside of themselves could be different. Things in the community, school, etc. could be different. And what is necessary for you as a parent is to help your child understand what they are capable of controlling. So what does that mean? What that means is that they are capable of changing how they look at things, how they experience their frustration, anxiety, and sadness, and how they communicate all of those emotions. So when I hear parents say, yeah, Megan, it's a pandemic. Of course my kid is frustrated. Of course my kid is anxious. Of course my kid is depressed. Of course they're going to have daily meltdowns. The last component, that last part of the sentence is not actually accurate. So that's why we're talking today. Because even in a pandemic, your child does not need to be experiencing daily meltdowns. All right. So there is no way, shape, or form that I would invalidate the experience. I don't remember the last time I left my house. It's hard, right? This is unprecedented. And nobody thought that this would take this long, a year beyond for many parts of the country and around the world. And it's also true that you don't have to experience daily meltdowns with your family, with your child, especially if your child's highly sensitive. And so that's why we're going to talk about this today. So one of the patterns that we see parents get stuck in is noticing that their child's experiencing a big emotion and wanting to help them move on from that big emotion and help them out of it. And when it's difficult for you as a parent to see your child struggle and you move into what we call fix-it mode, trying to solve the problem, then the focus that you'll need to do, sorry, I'm just seeing a bunch of comments that aren't relevant. So one of the things that you want to support your child in acknowledging is being able to notice their emotional state in that moment. So when we think about validation and communicating emotions for your child, it's really important to notice that when you're supporting your child in naming and communicating verbally more effectively, that may or may not stop the meltdown in the moment. And it's really, really crucial for you as a parent to be able to have the skills to manage how you are responding in that moment, even if your child is not calming down. Because I always talk to my clients about how validation is both a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. So if in the short term it's not working, it's very important that you not get into fix-it mode. So what do I mean by that? Fix-it mode parenting, right? Fix-it mode parenting is the emotion that you experience when you see your child suffering and you want your child to stop suffering in that moment. Now, suffering can be a wealth of a big definition. That's a big word that you can define in different ways, right? It could be that you see your child struggling with their meltdown. It could be that you see your child hitting, kicking, screaming, all of those big emotions leading to big behaviors. And in the moment, if you're trying to advise your child to shift out of that or to use an effective behavior, we can see many parents get stuck in this dynamic where the child is refusing to use a coping skill, refusing to calm down or to change their behavior in that moment, because that's not the time when your child is available for learning, right? Because when your child is in fight or flight, in this big emotional, intense state, your child's not going to be taking in new information from the world. They're already overstimulated. They're already frustrated. They're already stuck. And so what happens? You as a parent, you start to feel even more powerless than you did in the first place, right? So one of the things that we help our parents notice, name, and also nurture for themselves is the different dynamic that you need to set up in your household so that your child can start to experience new things and their world and challenges and interactions at home from a different perspective. So when we help parents notice that the way that you're changing your child's behavior doesn't always mean that you're changing how you respond in the moment to your child's big emotions. It means how you're preparing your child for managing challenges outside of that big intense emotion. You're going to be able to feel more in control. And when you can feel more in control as a parent, then your child feels more in control. So when we think about this powerlessness spiral where your child feels like they really wish that things could go back to normal, they're refusing to wear a mask or just refusing to go to school, refusing to sit in front of the Zoom for the umpteenth millionth time at this point, then there's a lot of powerlessness that your child is expressing and wanting to find a different way to feel powerful, right? One way to feel powerful is to refuse. Now, obviously, that's not effective. It's not an effective way to feel powerful for your child. But if your first and foremost objective is to get your child to follow through on that expectation, then you can miss the whole dynamic of the lessons that your child can learn in terms of building skills related to resiliency and increasing their frustration tolerance. Because while your child, of course, needs to go to school, they also need to be available for learning. And your child won't be able to be available for learning if you're the one making all those decisions for your child and if you're not coming at it from a different angle. So when we think about being able to teach your child outside of that intense emotion, outside of that intense moment, what a few things are crucial for you as a parent to understand. When your child is in that intense emotion and you're trying to move them out of that emotion and help them change their behavior, you in that moment are not accepting the fact that your child's experiencing an intense emotion because you're trying to fix the problem and you're seeing your child's intense emotion as a problem. So your child learns the lesson that they can't express their emotions in this intense way, in this intense moment at all, because it's intolerable for you. So obviously, as I mentioned before, their behavior is ineffective. It's not getting them to their goals. They're not able to participate on what they want. They may lose privileges as a result of not being able to be safe or naturally not be able to communicate their needs and get their needs met. That part's true, but what's also true is that your child is feeling disempowered when you're helping them solve the problem immediately and trying to get them to follow through on the task at hand immediately. So one thing that we teach our parents is the concept of radical acceptance. And what we mean by that is being able to control the environment by controlling how you respond to the environment and noticing that you can't control the environment at all. And so we flip this on your head in terms of understanding, of course, right now in a pandemic, you can't control anything about what's, the laws and regulations in your state and your county and all of that. But what's also true is that you can't control how other people respond to you, but you can control how you react to it. Now, that's going to be very difficult to do if you're not accepting the fact that your child is in a daily meltdown cycle. And if you're looking towards the future and waiting for a pandemic to be over in order to see if your child will break through that cycle, then you yourself are in the same powerlessness spiral that your child is in. You're waiting for something outside of yourself to fix the problem that is in direct relationship to your relationship with your child. Because highly sensitive kids experience daily meltdowns based on how they experience their emotions. And teaching your child how to manage their emotions has to come from you as a parent. It does not come from the environment. It does not come from any outside professional. And it does not come from a pandemic or a lack thereof of a pandemic. So if your child is experiencing daily meltdowns, even in a depressing, traumatized experience outside in the world, that is still in direct relationship to their relationship with you. And I know that that's hard to hear for some people, but for other people, this brings a significant amount of hope. And that's why I'm talking about it, because I'm speaking to those of you who want hope in this moment, who want to feel that you can change your child's experience, who want to take radical responsibility for your child's emotional state so that they can start to take radical responsibility for their own emotional state. And that starts with you as a parent. The way that you particularly parent your child helps your child change the way that they particularly experience a pandemic. And so what that means is that we have clients whose children are dealing with the fact that they have to go on Zoom, that they can't go see their friends, that they can't give hugs, that the winter is not over yet, but Christmas or holiday season is, and all the new toys have lost their sparkle, and the snow is icy and it's intolerably freezing, right? All of those things are happening, and their children are playing. Their children are communicating their emotions. Their children are not melting down on a daily basis, and their children are not losing their ish at the drop of a hat. So if that's what you're looking for, then you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to noticing how you are bubble wrapping your kid, right? Because when we think about one of the things that parents get stuck in is this fear that if I teach my child how to change their emotions and how to take their emotional experience and change how they express their emotions, and I focus on that right now, even in a pandemic, parents can often ask the question, am I trying to impact my child's mood in a way that means that I have to respond to my child's emotions effectively, so much so that they end up getting stuck in needing to be bubble wrapped on a daily basis, right? Because you can end up in a pendulum of saying, all right, here's reality. We're in a pandemic. My kid can't do all the things they want to do. The parks are shut down. XYZ is happening in our community, and they can't change that, right? To then taking control of how you help your child manage their emotions, helping them communicate them safely. And then your brain can do this sneaky little thing, this what if experience of saying, well, wait a minute, if I have to do that now, does that mean I have to do that all the time? Does that mean I have to bubble wrap my child's experiences and change the way that they think about things all day, every day for the rest of time? Because reality is that my child, when they're older, is going to need to accept reality, is going to need to show up to work, is going to need to attend to a boss who's cranky, who isn't kind, right? Now, here's the thing about the way the brain works. Your brain going into that what if mode is inhibiting you from noticing what you're capable of, from noticing what's possible for your family. So when we think about the challenge that you need to stay focused on is asking yourself a more appropriate question, a more appropriate what if question. What if I figured out how to bubble wrap my kid so that my kid learned how to bubble wrap themselves? Now, let's notice what that means. Let's get out of this vague experience, right? As we're talking about teaching kids how to deal with the fact that they're disappointed on a daily basis, deal with the fact that they miss their friends. Deal with the fact that there's a lot of trauma going on in the world and a lot of disappointment going on in the world. Deal with it and play. Play, communicate effectively, have fun, enjoy their life on a daily basis without daily meltdowns. That requires your child to notice and manage their own emotional state. And so that's the type of bubble wrapping that we're talking about. We're talking about helping your child protect themselves from the fact that there's a lot of sadness going on in the world, from the fact that there's a lot of grief and loss and frustration and fear going on in the world. That's the bubble wrapping we're talking about. Not pretending that things are fine and hunky-dory and that, this will all be better soon, right? Because that kind of bubble wrapping, guys, as a parent, that's bubble wrapping you for the sake of your kid, okay? So what's important to understand is that if you're stuck in this focus that you need to be waiting until things are going to be back to normal before your child breaks down the meltdown cycle, that's you protecting yourself and you listening to your fear part of your brain that says, what if I have to do this for the rest of my kid's childhood? Now, here's the deal. With the frustration that you're experiencing at this point, wanting to know how to get out of this and how to help your child manage their emotional state, I often talk to my clients about creating a Truman Show experience. What that means is you're teaching your child how to feel empowered and how they experience the world, even if there's a lot of frustration, fear, anxiety, and trauma going on outside of the world, outside of your own home, right? So this is different than setting up your child for success by teaching a growth mindset, by teaching the word yet, right? This is hard for me to do and right now, or I can't do that yet, right? Because we see a lot of children who are frustrated with themselves and their circumstances. They start to lose their patience with themselves, and they start to show out in their communication patterns at home. They give up too quickly, and they start to throw pencils and crumple papers after just trying for 1 minute or not even getting started. We've made videos and trainings on perfectionism and analysis paralysis before, so it's not the topic today. But when we think about helping your child manage the skills, you as a parent need to be able to understand how your child can accept reality of what's happening and then change how they're viewing it. Look for the opportunities, look for the wins, look for their ability to control what they choose to do in that day, even if part of the day requires them to be at school, requires them to be, learning from a computer, etc. So what that means is that you're teaching your child how to digest and absorb their own emotions, but not the emotions of other people, and not yours, not your emotions either. Because if you're in that, back to what we were talking about earlier, the frustration that you're experiencing, wanting your child to feel better already and to stop the meltdown cycle, you're perpetuating the problem in the first place. So this requires a strategy. It requires step-by-step recipes, and we can't tell you how to do that, particularly without knowing your family's circumstances, which is why we need to get on the phone, because I don't know if we can help you do that. But for the families that we do help, we will teach you exactly how to help your child name, notice, and communicate their emotions playfully so that they can get back to playing. So they start to feel capable of receiving feedback from you. So they start to change their behavior. They name their emotions in the moment. They don't melt down, and they don't hit, kick, or scream when they're frustrated, even at the smallest things. And if that's a strategy that you're looking for your family, we need to decide if we're a good fit to actually help you make that happen. And the way that we do that is we have a phone call, because we need to be able to communicate with you where you're stuck, where you want to be, and whether or not we can help you get there. And that requires time on the phone. So one of the things that we suggest is that you go ahead and book the call at meganthompsoncoaching.com/talk. And as a result, you'll get on the phone with a member of my team. We'll have that's the wrong link. That's why I'm multitasking here. You'll get on the phone with a member of my team. We'll talk about where you're stuck. We'll talk about where you need to go and whether or not we can help you get there. And if we are a fit, then we'll tell you exactly how that works on that phone call and get you started if that's relevant. And then if we feel like there's something that's going to be more efficient or effective, then we will steer you in the right direction. So either way, that conversation is going to put you in the right direction of knowing exactly where your family needs to be, whether that be therapy or next steps or working with us. We have to have a conversation about that in order to make that happen. So look forward to speaking with you, and myself and my team are happy to support you on this journey of changing the dynamic in your household. So I will speak to you soon, and have a good day. Bye.